I'm Selina Brown. It's April 17th, and this is my persuasive speech. Close your eyes and picture yourself in your car driving down the road. You don't notice at first, but your speed starts increasing, and your car starts shifting from one side of the road to the other. You suddenly glance up, realize what you're doing, and correct yourself. A few minutes later, the same thing happens again, but this time, it's too late. You suddenly feel the impact of your airbags against your face. You're disoriented and you don't know what just happened. You drove straight through a four-way stop and hit an oncoming car, taking away an innocent life. All of this happened because you were too concerned with your cell phone. You could have been texting or simply reading a text. But the fact is, your attention wasn't where it should have been. That one simple text that you read or sent took away someone's life. That text message could have waited until you arrived at your destination, because I can promise you there is no text that anyone could possibly think of that is worth taking away someone's life. This has become an increasing problem throughout the United States. College students are said to have the highest percentage of distracted drivers that result in fatal crashes. A survey was done by the Insurance Research Council where they asked people if they had texted while driving in the last 30 days. You can see in the chart where 31% were between the age of 16 and 24, 41% were between the age of 25 and 39, 12% were between the age of 40 and 54, and 5% were 55 years or older. It is more than likely that every single person in this room has at least sent one text message while driving. Just because that one text message didn't take away someone's life doesn't mean the next one you send or even receive won't. It is important to understand just how dangerous texting and driving can be and to be aware of what can be done to stop this problem. First, I would like to share some statistics with you about texting and driving. Many people don't understand how likely a wreck is likely to occur when the driver is distracted by a cell phone. The minimum amount of time that is taken away from the road when you're texting and driving is only 5 seconds. You may not think that 5 seconds is a lot, but according to an article written by Kristen Marino, driving while intoxicated, if you were traveling at 55 miles per hour, you would be able to travel the length of a football field in just 5 seconds. 15% of young drivers have seen their parents text while driving. 27% of adults have sent or received a text message while driving. 48% of young drivers have seen their parents talk on a cell phone while driving. And 48% of kids between the age of 12 and 17 have been in a car while the driver has been texting. Many people don't think it's a problem because they claim that it's easy to text and they can drive perfectly fine. 77% of young adults are very or somewhat confident that they can safely text and drive, while 55% claim it's something that's very easy to do. They can justify it several different ways. They say that reading a text is safer than typing and sending one. They hold the phone near the windshield so that they can see the road better. They increase the following distance, and they only text when they're at a stoplight. Although they may think this, it's still a problem. Many of those who text and drive spend about 10% of their driving time outside their own lane. David Strayer is a noted researcher at the University of Utah and has been studying distracted drivers for 10 years. Even though many people think they can text and drive at the same time, science shows that your brain just can't keep up. Strayer stated, the brain doesn't work the way we'd like it to. We can't multitask the way that a lot of people think that they can. His research found that talking on a cell phone quadruples your risk of an accident. For comparison purposes, someone who is drunk has a 0.08 blood alcohol level and has a 4-time crash increase. So talking on a cell phone is basically like driving drunk. When you actually text, the risk increases up to 8 times. Strayer also describes stimulations that we think we see when we're driving and texting than compared to what we actually see. When you text and drive, you get tunnel vision and your peripheral vision is weakened. This can cause you not to see pedestrians or other cars on the road. Just from this information, you are able to see how using a cell phone while driving impairs your ability to drive safely and how it puts puts not only yourself in danger, but those around you. Next, I would like to tell you about John Breen's story. Teresa Breen posted an article on textinganddrivingsafety.com about her son's story and what she and her family experienced from him choosing to text and drive. John, known by his friends as JB, was a 23-year-old United States Marine. It was not too long before he was ready to deploy to Afghanistan, willing to sacrifice his life for our country. But it wasn't war that took JB from his friends and family. It was a simple text message that ended his life. JB spent the last day before being deployed with his family. After he was spending time with them, just 24 hours before his crash, JB's father said to him, "Put down that phone. It's controlling your life." Yet that next night, he still chose to text and drive. JB was texting a friend as he lost control of his vehicle and veered off the road. He was ejected from the car and died on impact from a massive skull fracture. JB left behind parents, a brother, countless friends, and worst of all, his 2-year-old daughter. JB's mother, Teresa, talks about how angry she gets when she sees people using their cell phones and driving. She says that she wishes she could just pull them over and tell them about her son and how it could happen to anyone. She has emailed the Secretary of Transportation, Ray LaHood, several times and spoke with him at a 2011 Distracted Drivers Summit. She has also spoken to several Illinois congressmen about this deadly issue. She is a parent who has personally been affected by this issue, cannot wait for action to be taken soon enough to stop this from happening to anyone else. If the commercials and stories of lost loved ones due to texting and driving aren't enough to make you want to stop, maybe the laws and other actions being put into place eventually will. Throughout the United States, different locations have different policies on how strict their cell phone use while driving is. The mayor of Clemson wanted to do something about this issue. He did not like what the outcomes of texting and driving can lead to, so he decided to take the first step. A law was unanimously passed on June 1st, 2010, and the details of this can be found on the city's official website. According to the city of Clemson, this ordinance states that it is unlawful for a person to drive a motor vehicle on a public street or highway within city limits of Clemson, South Carolina, while text messaging, reading a text message, reading printed materials, or emailing. If an arresting officer has probable cause to believe that the driver of a vehicle, they have the right to view their cell phone or even obtain the cell phone records from that specific device. There are several exceptions to this law. The driver may use his or her cell phone if the vehicle is lawfully parked or stopped, if a police officer or fireman is on official duties, if it's being used for a GPS, or if it is voice operated. If anyone is caught using their cell phone while driving within the city limits of Clemson, there will be a penalty. There's a minimum fine of $100 as well as any fines that the court may put into place after. There won't be any points added to a driver's license, and the insurance charges won't be increased. As you can see, texting and driving is a life or death situation. Most people would not admit to texting and driving, or they have reasons as to why it's fine if they do it. They think that they have control at all times because it's not that difficult to do. But after realizing that you could travel the length of a football field basically blind in just 5 seconds without looking at the road should make you reconsider. After hearing the statistics that David Strayer spent 10 years doing research on should mean something to you. Most of you would never even think about driving drunk or getting in a car with a drunk driver, but most of you text every single time you're in a car, or you're with a driver who is texting. Texting while driving is twice as bad as drinking and driving, and yet people don't think twice about it. There are countless commercials, websites, and ads online that are there to show you just how terrifying the outcomes of texting and driving can be. Knowing that you have the ability to take away someone's life or your own by doing something that could wait should make you stop and think about texting while driving a car. Is that really worth what the consequences could be? After hearing people's stories and seeing the research and statistics that go along with texting and driving, I couldn't imagine wanting to take that risk, A simple text message can wait and doesn't have to be sent right away. It's definitely not worth a life.
It's over 2 minutes. Barely.
So we're fine.
Yeah.
Thank
Oh, it's still recording.